In a shocking story that stunned people globally, Josef Fritzl held his daughter captive in a concealed basement room for 24 years. She was just 18 when this horrifying ordeal started. Over the years, she gave birth to 7 children, all fathered by Fritzl. Join us as we unravel the terrifying tale of Josef Fritzl, the chilling origins of Josef Fritzl. Josef Fritzl was born on April 9, 1935, in Amstetten, a small town in Lower Austria. His early years were anything but idyllic. Fritzl's father, a strict and authoritarian figure, abandoned the family when Josef was just a young boy, leaving his mother to raise him alone. This abandonment had a profound impact on both Fritzl and his mother, shaping their future interactions and relationships. His mother, a woman described as domineering and cold, imposed a rigid and harsh upbringing on young Josef. She was known for her authoritarian discipline, which left little room for affection or warmth. Growing up, he was subjected to a strict and controlling environment. The absence of his father and the emotional detachment of his mother created a childhood marked by emotional neglect. He lacked the nurturing and supportive environment that is crucial for healthy emotional and psychological development. This deprivation of love and affection, coupled with the strict discipline imposed by his mother, is often cited by psychologists as a potential factor in the development of his disturbed psyche. The seeds of control and dominance that would later define his actions were likely sown during these formative years. In 1956, at the age of 21, Fritzl married Rosemarie, a woman who would stand by him through decades of unimaginable horror. Together, they had 7 children, 4 daughters and 3 sons. On the surface, the Fritzl family appeared to be an ordinary Austrian household. They lived in a modest home in Amstetten, blending seamlessly into their community. He worked as an engineer and provided for his family, maintaining an image of normalcy that masked his sinister inclinations. Beneath his seemingly normal exterior, Fritzl hid dark desires and a strong need for control that would later surface in horrific ways. He was a dominant and authoritarian figure at home, a behavior that intensified over time. Rosemarie, described as a submissive and obedient wife, had no idea about the full extent of her husband's deviant nature. As their children grew up, his need for dominance and control became more obvious, setting the stage for the terrible acts that were to come. The horrors begin. In the late 1970s, Fritzl began a disturbing project underneath his family home in Amstetten, Austria. He told everyone that he was expanding the basement to create a workshop and storage area. However, this was just a cover for his sinister plan. He secretly built a series of soundproof rooms with reinforced doors and basic amenities hidden deep underground. These rooms would later serve as a prison for his daughter, Elisabeth, without anyone in the family or the outside world knowing. The cellar was cleverly constructed to ensure that no sound or light could escape, providing total isolation for its occupants. From the beginning, he intended to use this space to exert complete control over Elisabeth, hiding his horrific actions in secrecy and darkness. In 1984, Elisabeth Fritzl, then just 18 years old, fell victim to her father's monstrous plan. Lured into the cellar under the pretext of assisting with a household task, she was swiftly overpowered and drugged by her father. In a horrifying act of betrayal and cruelty, he locked Elisabeth inside the newly completed underground prison, sealing her fate and that of the children who would soon follow. Thus began Elisabeth's unimaginable nightmare, a 24-year ordeal of confinement, abuse, and psychological torment, orchestrated by the one person she should have been able to trust unconditionally. The conditions in the cellar were dreadful. Elisabeth and the children she bore lived in a cramped, damp space with very little natural light. The rooms were sparsely furnished, and they had limited access to necessities. Fritzl controlled every aspect of their lives, providing food and supplies sporadically and subjecting them to constant psychological and physical abuse. Elisabeth's suffering was not only physical, but also deeply psychological, threatening them with violence and further isolation if they tried to escape or reveal their existence. He created an environment of absolute control and manipulation, breaking their spirits and destroying any sense of autonomy. During her captivity, Elisabeth gave birth to 7 children. 3 of these children were raised in the cellar with her, never seeing the outside world or experiencing a normal childhood. He told his wife and neighbors that Elisabeth had run away to join a cult and left the children on their doorstep. The children's development was severely impacted by their imprisonment. Deprived of sunlight, proper nutrition, and social interaction, they suffered from physical and psychological issues. His control over their lives extended to their education, health, and daily activities, creating an atmosphere of fear and dependence. The day that changed everything. In 2008, the harrowing ordeal of Elisabeth Fritzl and her children took a crucial turn when one of the children, Kirsten, fell critically ill. Despite the risks, he allowed Elisabeth to seek medical help for Kirsten, leading them to a local hospital in Amstetten, Austria. At the hospital, doctors immediately noticed Kirsten's grave condition and the unusual circumstances surrounding her admission. Elisabeth, who had been held captive for 24 years in the cellar beneath Fritzl's home, exhibited a demeanor that raised suspicions among the medical staff. The doctors, alarmed by Kirsten's medical state and Elisabeth's behavior, began to ask probing questions. Their concerns intensified as they attempted to contact Fritzl for more information, but encountered evasive responses and inconsistencies in his explanations. Their persistence triggered a chain of events that would expose one of the most shocking cases of domestic imprisonment and abuse in modern history. The hospital staff, unable to ignore the unsettling signs, alerted the local authorities. Police swiftly intervened, launching a thorough investigation into the Fritzl household. What they uncovered was beyond comprehension: a hidden dungeon where Elisabeth and her children had lived in captivity, subjected to unimaginable horrors at the hands of her father. Elisabeth, brave and determined despite years of manipulation and fear, courageously recounted the details of her captivity to the authorities, shedding light on the grim reality that had been concealed for so long. The revelation stunned the world and sparked a global media frenzy. The authorities, appalled by the extent of Fritzl's crimes and the conditions endured by Elisabeth and her children, moved swiftly to arrest him. This marked the beginning of a legal process that would not only seek justice for the victims, but also raise profound questions about accountability, human rights, and the resilience of those who survive unimaginable trauma. The trial and aftermath. Josef Fritzl's arrest in April 2008 marked the beginning of a legal saga that would shock the world. Charged with a horrifying array of crimes: incest, rape, false imprisonment, and enslavement. His trial commenced in March 2009, drawing global attention and condemnation. Throughout the proceedings, details emerged that painted a chilling picture of his actions over decades. Fritzl's guilty plea to all charges was a grim acknowledgement of the horrors he had inflicted. In March 2009, he was sentenced to life imprisonment, reflecting the seriousness of his crimes and delivering a form of justice for his victims. After their dramatic rescue, Elisabeth and her children faced a long journey of recovery. They were given new identities and placed under protective custody to keep them safe from public attention and ensure their security. They received extensive psychological and medical support to help them heal from the deep trauma they had experienced. The absence of a stable and caring environment during his childhood likely led to his development of unhealthy coping mechanisms and a twisted sense of power dynamics. At the core of his actions was a deep need to control and dominate others, most notably shown in how he manipulated and imprisoned his own daughter, Elisabeth. His complete authority in the cellar revealed his sick need to overpower and crush any resistance. Additionally, he showed a complete lack of empathy or remorse, enabling him to commit horrific acts against his own family without any moral hesitation. The Fritzl case has significantly influenced society by raising awareness about the hidden nature of domestic abuse and the need for vigilance. It has led to changes in laws and increased efforts to protect vulnerable individuals from similar forms of abuse and exploitation. What aspect of Josef Fritzl's case did you find the most disturbing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story gripping, remember to subscribe for more chilling true crime stories.